So I want to jump right into this. Today we're talking about chapters 4 through 6 of Feedback Mastery, the complete guide to repairing your Amazon feedback using every trick in the book. And so today we're actually talking about getting your feedback, negative feedback removed. Some tips, some tricks. There's some things in this book that I learned that have completely helped me get and keep 100% feedback scores. I still get negative feedbacks from time to time, and there are certain tips and tricks in this book that have helped me get negative feedback removed. And so we're going to talk about 2 ways to get negative feedback removed today. I don't want to give away all of Peter Valley's secrets that he talks about in this book, but we're going to talk about a couple of them. Number 1 is asking Amazon to remove your feedback. A lot of times Amazon will remove your feedback, sometimes even automatically after you ask them to, but most of the time it goes to a particular person and you would be able to get negative feedback removed. Now, to give you some good understanding about what's good feedback, what's negative feedback, positive feedbacks are seen as 4s and 5s. Neutral feedbacks are seen as a 3, and 1s and 2s are seen as negative. And the author really encourages you, and I encourage you, to get all negative feedbacks and neutral feedbacks removed, because anything that's not positive is going to hurt your account. So I would get 1s, 2s, and 3s removed. I would keep 4s and 5s, even if the text of a 4 or 5 feedback has something negative to say. That text is not going to hurt your account, but having a feedback score of 3, 2, or 1 will hurt your account. It will impact your buy box percentage. You'll get less time in the Amazon buy box because of having 1s, 2s, or 3s in your feedback score. But today we're going to talk about getting those negatives and neutrals removed. And the first thing you can do is to ask Amazon to remove it. Now, Amazon will remove feedback for a couple reasons. If the product is lost, or late, especially if you're that only applies if you're an FBA seller. If the item is lost or late, that's Amazon's fault. If the comment contains obscene language or language that offends you, and so you can ask Amazon to remove that if it's got languages like that. If it includes personal identification, like if it calls out your name or an address or anything like that, you can get feedback removed for that. Or if the entire feedback is a product review. Yeah, I've got feedback scores of 1 for me as a seller that say, I didn't enjoy this book. And I'm like, that's not my fault. Don't hurt me because you didn't enjoy the book. That's a product review. You can ask Amazon to review that. When you're talking to Amazon, one of the things that this book reminds you is to be brief and be friendly. You want to just get right to the point. You don't have to explain a huge long paragraph about how this seller was, mad at you or didn't understand the situation. Just come right out and say, the feedback score that I received was actually a product review. Would you please remove it? Or the feedback score or the feedback that I received contained something that offended me. Would you please remove it? Things like that. You should try and to contest it with Amazon, and like even things like at one time I had and the author talks about this too, a DVD that I mailed to somebody, and someone gave me negative feedback because the DVD came loose within the package. Well, I opened up a ticket with Amazon and said, this item must not have been properly secured in the package shipment, and therefore it was banging around a lot in the box, and the DVD came loose. This was not my fault as a seller, but Amazon's fault. Try to find a way where it makes it Amazon's fault, and they'll probably remove it. Now, it's not 100% of the time they'll remove it. A lot of times they'll give you a message that says, we're sorry, we're not able to remove this feedback, and we can go on to the next step. But most of the time, Amazon will remove it. Sometimes they'll completely delete it from your account. Sometimes they'll just strike through the feedback with a line that says, Amazon fulfilled this and takes complete responsibility for this experience. But even if it stays on your account and the line, the words are crossed through, then there's nothing to worry about. That's not going to ding your account. So they'll either completely remove it or they will strike a line through it. The second way to get feedback removed, if Amazon won't do it, you can contact the buyer. Contact the buyer directly and ask them to be able to remove this feedback or update the feedback. You can contact them, send them a message, and say things like, I'm just a small seller. trying to make a living. I made a mistake. I'm really sorry about this. Is there any way you could revise the feedback? I've learned from my mistake, and my feedback score is important to my business. The cool thing about this book is that it gives you things that you can copy and paste into Amazon and just make sure you change the information to be correct. But it makes it so easy and gives you, for different types of situations, what to communicate to the seller or to the buyer about why you would like this feedback to be removed. And again, some of the times the customer will remove the feedback. They'll be like, yeah, you know what? They apologize. They gave me a refund for it. They're trying to make it right. I don't want to hurt them, so I'll remove the feedback. So it's a good idea to try and just appeal to their generosity and just tell them you're really sorry. You've learned from your mistake. You won't let this happen again. Could they consider removing the feedback? Some people won't. They'll be just like, no, I'm not going to do that. A lot of people will ignore the email altogether. But there's a really cool trick in here, and I'm not going to give it away. But there's a really cool trick in this book that gives you a trick on how to communicate with the buyer in such a way that the buyer will really be encouraged to remove the negative feedback. I'm not going to get all into what it is, but it's awesome. There's another trick in this book that when you're sending the buyer an email trying to ask them to remove it, Amazon only gives you a choice of 4 or 5 different subject lines. And it could be like feedback request or return authorization or general question. And most time when people are looking through their emails and they see these really boring subject lines, most of the time they're just going to hit delete. But the author, Peter Valley, has found a workaround where you can come up with your own subject line to be able to contact the customer directly. It's brilliant. I'm not going to give it away. You need to read the book to find out. But there's a way to do it. And he gives you ideas of different subject lines to use. Like, hey, I made a mistake as a subject line. People might be like, what is this? Or, I see you have good taste in fill in the blank. And you can say, like if it was a book, I see you have good taste in books. Or different things like that. And a lot of times they will be more likely to open that email, read through your request to remove negative feedback, and we'll remove that feedback. Or another one like, well, this is a fun introduction. And so, just different ways to be able to do it. It's just a really cool little hack to change the subject line to be something that will get them to actually open up the email more often. So a lot of times the customer is wrong with their feedback. They'll leave a feedback of 1, but the feedback will say, this was a great order. And they just kind of didn't understand it. So Peter gives you a really good thing in the Feedback Mastery book about how to communicate with a buyer for them to be able to do it. And he also talks to you and tells you to remember not just ask for feedback, but to go the extra mile. Put the step-by-step instructions on how to remove feedback, how to adjust feedback, include the link for them to go directly to remove that feedback. Make it as easy as possible, because when they see that email, they look at it, all they have to do is click on a link and then remove their feedback, and Peter walks you through all of this. So I really encourage you, check out this book, Feedback Mastery. You can find out more about it at fulltimefba.com/feedback mastery, because there's even more tips and tricks. I mean, it talks about the best day of the week to open up a ticket with Amazon Seller Central for you to be able to get a feedback removed. Yes, I've done it myself. He tells you what day of the week to do it. I've done it, and I get more yeses this way by getting negative feedback removed. It's brilliant. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give us a thumbs up or a comment or a question below. And all the links that we talked about in the video, you can find that in the description below. And to find out about turning part-time hours into full-time income, come hang out with us at fulltimefba.com. We'll see you there.